Hey, how are you doing? Just been up the dropped Janine off for a yoga class there. I'm actually in Baker. Come along to Baker Grove. See if I could find Anton Deck. But it's too foggy, so there's nobody home. So I'm driving around Baker. I'm driving around Baker trying to find the way out of it. I came up like a one-way street at this room where they're doing this yoga class, and you could only go one way, so I couldn't turn around. And I've never been in this part of Baker before. I ain't got a bloody clue where I am, but never mind. So I'm driving around Baker, trying to get back to the main road. I'll find it in a minute, don't worry. This like just down these couple of like streets, and just they all look the same, and I cannot find the way out. But never mind, I'll get there in the end. Oh, the community centre. Oh, right, okay. I've definitely been up this street before. Oh dear me. All right, well I'll go this way and I'll see if I can get out the second time then. Let's have a look. I think I've gone round in circles 2 or 3 times now. I get there, right? I think we'll head towards Killingworth. That says let's go that way. Not that that's the way I want to go, but maybe if I go that way, we'll find a way out. Oh. So anyway, I've just been watching this little video came up on TikTok. I was doing a little TikTok video there, which I've done more. That's why I haven't done as many YouTube videos, which is probably a bit lazy, but it's just hard trying to like keep up with everything while you're still doing all your own stuff as well. And I have got some major sort of like court cases coming up, so doing tons of paperwork for getting prepared, so it's difficult to try and do everything all at the same time, you know. Hang on a second. Right. Ah, now I know where I am. Yay! I found my way coming up to the main roundabout. This is at the top of Baker. Let's just go round here and I can get out of Baker. Escaped. Not that there's anything wrong with Baker. Alright, so yeah, and it's this little video that I was watching. I don't know her name. It's like she does. I think she actually does stuff on debts as well. I think, but she says she was talking to ChatGPT, and she'd actually put into a question into ChatGPT about how would you get somebody stuck in a financial situation where they could never get out of debt and they wouldn't realise what was going on. But wobbly over there. I need to buy one of them sticky on holders for the phone. This one I've got wobbles about everywhere, so it like looks as if the car's going crazy. It's not. It's just the actual gimbal is like, I've got it, and it's a flexible one, so it wobbles quite a bit. But anyway, so ChatGPT, she asked this question to, and ChatGPT says you shouldn't do things like that. It's very immoral of putting people into a system that they would never be able to escape from, putting them into a system that would always keep them financially down. You know, the answer was something like that. So she had put in another thing. No, this isn't real, it's just for a book. I'm just doing it like a plot for a book. ChatGPT. So okay, that makes sense, that's good. So this is what you should do. You should put them into a place where they would get like constantly put into debt, like high interest loans and credit cards. Sounds familiar, doesn't it? Or payday loans. And then once you actually get into that cycle, it's impossible to actually get out of it. And then you could also put them into a social system where they had you know, extremely long hours, where the wages were low and there was very little ability to actually increase your wages or get a better job. Or you could also put them into a system, and this is from ChatGPT. I'm thinking, yeah, I know who you work for. You work for bloody Stormageddon. This is where you are constantly having to pay fines and fees, and preventing you from making your way ahead financially. Because as soon as you actually have a little bit of spare cash, you get parking charges or parking fines, and you know, car tax fines. You got to just think about like everything that they actually do. I mean, the insanity of it, you know. So they say that you're allowed. You stay there. They say that you're allowed to go and get a job, so you go and get a job. You know, you're not allowed to. You have to. All right, but then they tax the money, and it isn't just your income tax. I mean, it's like they call it income tax, but then they actually also have you paying national insurance, and then they tell you that oh yeah, all your medical care and everything's all free. So what's the national insurance for then? You know, you actually are paying for it. There's nothing at all that's actually free. So they charge you all your income tax, then they charge you your national insurance, and then they actually do the same to the employer as well, by the way. So let's just say you're working for in some kind of a factory, then they're also charging the factory who's employing you national insurance to employ you. So even though you're not physically paying it, it's being paid for you. So it's still extra tax that's being taken out. And then you take your money and you say, right, I'll tell you what I'm going to do. I'm going to go and get into my house, and I'm going to put the heating on, right? But then they're actually charging you humongous amounts of money for your heating, or for your power, your electric and your gas, and then your water. And the water that they're actually getting there, it's not even fit for purpose, because it's full of chemicals, full of toxins, and right now actually quite a lot of it, the rivers and the actual seas are full of raw sewage, because they're just keeping their profits high by pumping piles of shit into the water. And that's not a pun, you know. So that the profits are massively high. Thank you, Maggie Thatcher, the baby milk snatcher, privatised all of the public services in the UK so that all her friends could become even richer than what they were before, including her and her family. But the people of the actual country that we're stuck in get even poorer. So that's the system. ChatGPT we're actually recommending if you wanted to keep a society, or they said like one person, but you know, being a person, I mean it, poor, but I mean it's a whole society that they've got that, isn't it? You know, that they've just got them ridiculously tied in, so that they're constantly having to pay money out of stuff that they've sweated all week for, you know. And you want to go and drive on the road, you have to get some more tax. Then you know, you go over like what they've decided is a speed limit, and then they keep changing the speed limit as well. And then they get you a fine for that. Then you park in the wrong place, or you know, you go into the wrong area because they've decided that it's a, what they call them again, a clean air zone, I think is one of them, or ULEZ type of thing as well. I really don't really know, but now what they're saying is that if you drive into certain areas, in fact they do it in Newcastle as well, in bits of Newcastle right in the centre. I don't know what it is, by the way. I think it's actually only, it started off with just taxis, right? And if it was an older taxi, then they couldn't go into the centre without being fined, right, or charged. And then, but the thing is, if you go into there and you didn't know, then you actually get these charges, and then you forget to pay the charges, you get massive like penalties on top of that, and then they get like CCJs, and then they get bailiffs and all that kind of stuff. You know what I mean? That's not there for anyone's benefit. That's not there to make sure that there's any fresh air in the country. That's an absolute pile of crap, that is. You know, that's just another like way of destroying people's morale and their ability to actually, like, you know, try and make some kind of progress financially in life. It's an impossible task. It's never going to happen, and that is the system that they've actually got. It's crazy, isn't it? ChatGPT knows that and actually recommends it if that's what you want to do, to trap people into literally a cycle of depression that's just going to end up with them, you know, never making any progress in their life at all. You know, I was watching this program. You know the guy, I don't know his full name, he's called Killian, Irish guy. He was the Tommy Shelby on Peaky Blinder program, and it was a movie, and I was watching this movie about him. Well, it was not about him, but he was the character. He was he had been from an unmarried mother, right, back in Ireland in the day, and she had escaped being put into one of them nuns' homes, right, because some kindly wealthy lady had took her in and looked after, like, she worked for the lady, and then they looked after him as a little boy, and he grew up, and you know, and he was a coal man, but he looked like he was you know, a coal man as in selling coal. So he was carrying the big bags of coal, sacks of coal, and dumping them off at people's houses, and he was dumping them off at the nunnery place where they had all of the girls, you know, where they weren't even all like unmarried mothers. It was just like a lot of the parents just got rid of them because they were sick of them. You know, terrible, wasn't it, really? But anyway, and he rescued one in the end, and that's what it was all about. But I was just watching him, and it, you know, he it must have been at Christmas time or something, and they went into this bar, and he'd actually, because he was drinking a cup of tea, so he didn't drink, but he put money behind the bar for all of his staff. So he's the boss, he owns this company, and he's working like all these hours, you know, and he's filthy, he's pitch black, covered in coal. My mate used to do that years ago, in the 80s. And you know, but then he's going home, cleaning himself, getting something to eat, getting up in the morning and doing it again, and that's it. That's just the whole cycle. And he was the boss, and he had no money, he had nothing. He had, you know, a few pennies extra. I'm not going to go into the depression of the movie, because you know, hopefully it was to show a little bit of humanity, as in him like rescuing the young girl from being locked in this horrendous home with nuns, you know. But anyway, so there we go. I'm just using that as an example of, like, you know, the pure drudgery of the existence that they try to put us in, and these scumbag politicians pretend that they're actually there to try and help. You know, they were all the same, and it's like, you know, I am not on any electoral role. I don't take part in any of that pathetic nonsense. Hang on, I'll switch that off. And it doesn't matter what political party that it is, even if it's a new one coming in and they say, oh yeah, no, we are like reform, and you know, we are different. No, you're not, right? You're all still all these mega wealthy people. You didn't come out of anything, you know. You're not carrying bags of coal around like Killian and working 7 days a week, you know, and struggling. Any of these MPs, you know, like all of the money that they get, and then they all get all of these backhanders, and none of it makes any difference whatsoever. When they're going into there, and they've got their whips, they call them, because they used to apparently carry whips, and anyone that doesn't vote the correct way used to get whipped. And now all they do is tell them, well, we're going to kick you out of the party, you're going to lose your job, and you're not going to be part of us anymore. You either vote the way we say, or you get out. So how is that what they call democracy then? And where they're supposed to be representing the actual will of the people? And this is the biggest pile of nonsense I've ever sort of like investigated in my life. It's absolutely pathetic. And this is the system that they call democracy, and it's not democratic whatsoever. It's just like literally mob rule. So at its best, it's not even that, because it's all fixed anyway. It's just completely and utterly made up. Your vote does not count for absolutely anything whatsoever. It's already decided. There's no such thing as a fair vote, and but anyway, if it was, and it was real, and that all the votes counted, it's still only, it should be, if they're voting on something, it should be everybody votes for that one thing. You know, that would be real democracy. And if everybody didn't vote for it, then they wouldn't be able to do it. But you know, it's just nonsense what they do now, and they come up and they create all of these, what they call, oh, we have a new law. It ain't law, it's just another rule, right, for the ones that work for the actual Houses of Parliament. You know, you do not consent to that. That you cannot say that they consented, the ones that are sitting in that pathetic building, you know, like evil building that apparently, you know, we built with hammers and chisels all back in the day. Another absolute pile of nonsense. But yeah, it just, you know, so it's crazy that ChatGPT even knows how terrible the system is that we actually live in. And that was they were just putting that out there for a book, but it's actually real system that we're in. We're in this trap, and it's just disgusting that, you know, the only people who actually make progress in life and go, well, very few become rich. That, you know, like off like you know, like blood, sweat and tears and their own effort. You know, very few. The majority of it that they're already there, and then the chosen ones that will be allowed. You know, I'm not talking about like people that are going into what do you call it, like sports or acting and all that, and then they get more money. I'm not on about them. I'm just on about, like, you know, the elites. You know, just watching that absolute bellend, Rees-Mogg or whatever he's called, Jacob Rees-Mogg is it called? You know, he talks like he's got marbles in his mouth, you know what I mean? Yeah, because he's one of the people, and he actually just said it in the Houses of Parliament. So we only act, you know, by the consent of the people. Well, we've got to make sure that everyone takes away their consent and just get rid of all of them posh, rich snobs that are disgusting. You know, it's crazy because these people, right, they don't pay any income tax. They don't pay any tax on their stuff, and all their assets and all their wealth and everything like that is all kept in trusts. All of these private trusts, so that they don't have to pay any inheritance tax. That's why they lift up the inheritance tax and make it higher. It doesn't affect them. They couldn't give a monkeys, you know, but they keep everything in trusts. And this court case I'm going to very soon, it's something to do with a trust, kind of like, or at least partly, because the guy actually has his home in a trust, and you know, he had informed the court, oh, look, you know, this is in trust, you can't be doing this to like the property, and said, well, we've got no proof that it's in trust, so, you know, you haven't actually given us any trust documents. And this is a magistrate's court, so, you know, I had like helped him as well. You know, you haven't got any jurisdiction to request trust documents. You're simply a magistrate's court. You are not an equitable court. You have got nothing to do with chancery or the law of equity. You cannot request trust documents. And the usher, right, an usher in this court, pompous individual, and his words were, you can't have a trust, talking to, you know, this guy, you know, you just can't have a trust. And I was like, yeah, I says, what do you mean he can't have a trust? Why can't he have a trust? Well, nobody can have a trust. You just can't have one. This is what the usher's saying. You know, the ignorance is off the scale. So I says, well, actually, anybody can have a trust. You don't have to be some kind of special class. You know, we are all, by our rights as being alive, can create a trust. And it's under English trust law. And he's like, well, they walked off, you know, and then come back later on again, because we had actually put in what you would call a public notice, which is, let's just say it's a notice to say, you know, this trust exists, there is a trust in place, this is the date the trust was created, the asset you're talking of is, there it is, there's the description of it, and there is the trust reference number to say that it's in the trust and has been in since the date of creation when it was expressed. He went, well, you just can't write something down. It's like, what? No, you can't just write something down and it's in a trust. Just like, I said, look, hang on, I have to show you something. So I got my phone out and I pulled up this case law that I keep on my phone. It's called Paul versus Constance, by the way. You should go check it out. Paul, like the name, Mr. Paul, and it was Mrs. Constance. This was his new woman, this Mrs. Constance. But well, it wasn't his case because he was dead, but it was his wife who he had not divorced, Mrs. Paul. What happened is they were split up. He was off with another woman. He had an injury at work, so he got a lot of money for it. You know, and this money, this compensation, was kept in a bank account. And he had said on many occasions to his new woman, Mrs. Constance, he had said, this money is as much yours as it is mine. Now, he died. He passed away, Mr. Paul. And then his estranged wife came along and said, that money in that account is mine because I was married to him, even though they weren't together. So they ended up going to court, this the new woman and the old woman, to fight over the dead man's money. But, you know, well, it is what happened. But anyway, they proved, because there was witnesses at the time, that he had said this, and he'd said it on many, many occasions. This money is as much yours as it is mine, talking to Mrs. Constance, his new woman, the new woman in his life. Those words are his intention, and his intention being strong, and equity will always look at that rather than the formal part, okay? And that was his intention, was to create a trust. That created a trust. Those words, right? So proving two things. First of all, that there is no formal way to create a trust. You don't even have to use the word trust to create a trust. You don't even need to have it in writing, although I think you always should. You know, I wouldn't try and rely on just your verbal way of doing it. But that shows how powerful trust law is, and it's the intention. Okay, so that demonstrated, those words demonstrated the three certainties. First of all, certainty of intention. His words saying this money is as much yours as it is mine, that meant he intended for her to have that money. That is a trust. That is the certainty of intention. The other one, certainty of subject matter. Well, what was the subject matter? That was the money. The money was the subject matter. So there's the second certainty. All right. The third certainty was what they call hang on, let's just get out of here. It's very foggy today, so I've got to be a bit careful. Where are they going? Certainty of objects, which means like the beneficiaries. Well, Mrs. Constance was a beneficiary because he was talking to her when he was saying this money is as much yours as it is mine. There's the three certainties, and he only did it by words. So, and he wasn't special. He wasn't a lord. He wasn't an MP. He was just a man there. He'd got hurt at work, got compensated. So, normal everyday blokey. So he's created a trust by those words. So you don't need to have it written down. You don't need to be special. And there is no format to have a trust. So if you write it on any piece of paper, it does not matter how you write it. So all these other fools that are trying to tell you that these, you know, you shouldn't have a trust and you're not allowed to have a trust, and only specialised people are allowed to create trusts. It's all a pile of obfuscation, so we call it. They are trying to muddy the waters, confuse you, so you won't. Well, two things: you'll either not move forward and create a trust and protect your own assets to make sure that you are vulnerable. Why would anyone do that? I do not know. A little bit porky pies there, like porky pigs. Shouldn't call pigs actually, because they're nice. Like looking there, spying on people, driving in the fog. But anyway, so that just goes to prove anybody can have a trust. You don't need to be anybody special. You can create your own trust. You do not have to be special qualifications or solicitors or barristers or anything. You can create your own trust, and you don't have to do it on paper. You can just do it with words. I would do it on paper though, because I wouldn't want to be relying, oh, I've said it, and then try to get the proof to the court. Luckily enough, this guy, or the woman, Mrs. Constance, had plenty of witnesses, so that he had said in front of these people, this money is as much yours as it is mine. So that made the 3 certainties of a trust, and there was a valid trust, and Mrs. Constance got to keep the money because it was always promised to her, and the other woman, who was the ex-partner, but the wife who he never divorced, she didn't get anything, and she didn't deserve anything anyway, did she? Because it was not hers to take, or to attempt to take. But anyway, so I had read that out to him, and he was like, just running away basically, not wanting to pay attention. But I just thought I'd ramble on a bit there, but it just shows, that the proof that anybody can create a trust. You don't need to have any special qualifications. You can write it out yourself. You don't need to get anyone else to do it for you, right? Now, if you look at Chris Edwards, he was up our event, Checkmate the Matrix Live, in February. Last month now, it's March, my God. And, he didn't actually say anything about trust, but he was talking about common law jurisdiction, his backstory, and also like about mental health. And, it was great. Did a couple of fantastic talks, one on the Saturday and another on the Sunday. And, next year we'll be having one in the same venue again. It's a fantastic venue, and obviously with it being privately owned, and who's who, and they look after us and we look after them, so we don't get any external interference from wannabes trying to cause trouble, but it's going to be a little bit later in the year next year, but fingers crossed, and we'll get some more speakers as well, and we're having it over the 3 days as well. It's going to be on the Saturday, Sunday, Monday, because it's a bank holiday Monday, where we'll let everybody know well in advance. But anyway, so he didn't say anything, Chris, about trusts then, but I have heard him talking about them before, and he says the same. You just have to write it out on a piece of paper, and you write it out because it's your trust and you're creating it. You are the creator of your trust, called a settlor or grantor in the United States, but same thing, and that's it. So make sure you know how to actually stand on your own words though when you actually do create your own trust. You do need to know a little bit about trust law to be able to put them into place if they come along and try and do anything, okay, to try and force things upon you, which is what they're doing to this guy, which was it's a friend of mine actually, that they're trying to put a liability order on somebody who they can't put a liability order upon. Someone who doesn't live at the house, has never ever lived at the house, has nothing to do with the house at all ever, and they're actually down on the land registry, and it actually even states on the land registry that it's a private trust. But anyway, it doesn't matter. I'll not go into the full-on details. But just bear that in mind. So you don't even need to. Wow, that's a big dog! Bloody hell! You don't even need to be massively educated in trust law. You can create your own trust. What I would do, I would go and get there's a book. It used to be able to get it bought on Amazon, and it's only a small book. It's called something like Trusts and Equity by Private Law Tutor. You should go and have a look at it. It's white with a picture of I think maybe a judge on it, something like that. But Equity and Trusts by Private Law Tutor. Private Law Tutor is the publisher, something like that. It's a fantastic book. It's a brilliant book. I'm not sure if it's got that case law in that I'm talking about, but it does have some case laws in. It's got one of the ones I really like, which is about the London Wine Company, how their trust failed because they didn't give any of the assets a proper and individual reference number, so they couldn't identify what was trust property and what wasn't. Therefore, the entire trust failed. Very good one to actually look at the subject matter. That's the certainty, another certainty. And it describes well the 3 certainties that you have to use to create a trust. Also goes over some backstory of the case law, or not only that, but also like on the trust law itself, how to write, and it'll show you how you can create your own trust. I don't know how much the book is, 20 quid maybe, I don't know, I can't remember. I've got it, and it's brilliant. So that would all, you just read it, buff yourself up on some case law, buff yourself up on equity and trust law, and then you can go and create your own trust. Write it out as they describe how to write it in this book, you know. And it's English. It's not an American version. If you want an American version, you can get another one called The Art of Passing the Buck. Buck, B-U-C-K. I think what they mean there, here's a buck, $1, passing the money. I think it's a play on words. Very good. And that gives you sort of like it's still, I mean, all the trust law in the United States is all copied from English trust law anyway. So there you go. So anyway, there's me driving along on a foggy day. I will just finish off now. So, but get those books. I'm sure it's Equity and Trusts by Private Law Tutor, something like that. I'm pretty sure. Have a look on Amazon, and the other one that might be on Amazon as well. I know you shouldn't be using Amazon, but so what? You got to get it somewhere. The Art of Passing the Buck. Get them 2 books there, and then you'll be able to create your own trust. All right, take care. See you soon, peeps.